So I have been following Pat Flynn since early 2014, and he has really shared a few things that have honestly changed my life in the way that I approach my everyday. And I want to share those three things with you. I want to share what he's taught me about business, what he has taught me about teaching, and what he has taught me about life in general. And if you ask me, that's the best part, so be sure to stick all the way to the end. My name is Dustin Bakkie, and welcome to the High Impact Teaching Lab, where our mission is to create a more effective, accessible, and inclusive digital learning landscape. Thanks for being a part of it. Now, I truly believe that a mentor can be anyone that you're learning from. You don't have to have met them in order to be able to learn from them and have them be a mentor to you. And Pat Flynn has really become that for me. And no, I've never really met Pat. In fact, I had the honor to be invited onto his podcast, and that interview is coming up soon, but never having met him, I still consider him a mentor. So let's go ahead and dive into these three things that Pat has really taught me over the last 6 or 7 years. So the first thing that Pat Flynn has taught me is business related. And this is something I felt like I had an idea of beforehand, but seeing it in action is just so powerful. And what that is his trademarked, I don't think it's trademarked, but his saying, serve first. And coming into business with the approach of serving first and having success and the money and everything else follow is just such a profound mindset shift. And I think it's had such a large impact on me watching Pat over all of these years. And yes, Pat may have a lot of resources at his disposal to give back generously, but I remember all the way back early on, he was giving back all the way through. So, for example, when the pandemic hit, he made one of his starter courses that taught people how to get businesses up and running. He gave it for free. It was like a $300 course, and he gave everyone access to it for free as long as the pandemic was going on. That was like millions of dollars that he gave away. And he started this new Pokemon channel, and there he is giving away thousands of dollars worth of these Pokemon cards right now during this crazy hype when people are pulling guns on each other at Target trying to get Pokemon cards. It's not all about giving, but if you've ever watched one of Pat's live streams, he will be there for people who are struggling. Someone will mention something and he will pause. I've seen tears come to his eyes. He will address that person and ask, how can I serve you? Send me an email. Let me know how I can help. And that type of business role model and that type of business mindset is, I feel, really different than a lot of what you're going to see out there. And so this is a mindset that I try to take into whatever I'm doing, and how can I serve first? The second thing that I want to share that Pat has really taught me is about teaching, and specifically teaching online. So my background is in higher education, and I had been working on designing digital and online courses before the pandemic began. When the pandemic hit and there's this mass rush to hop on Zoom and teach online, instructors everywhere were freaking out. And there was this huge focus on, I have to be able to see my students in order to be able to teach them. That was such a common statement, a common problem for instructors. They want their students' screens to be on Zoom. And yes, I'll be the first to say it, I absolutely love when my students have their screens on. However, I also recognize there's a lot of privilege that comes with just being able to have a Zoom screen on during classes, or just the accessibility of it. Sometimes I've even had to have students turn their cameras off, or I turn my camera off just to increase the quality of the meeting. So there's a ton of different reasons why a camera might be off. But instructors were hung up on this idea that they can't teach if they can't see their students. They can't make connections if they can't meet or see their students. And one of the things Pat did during the whole pandemic is he went live every single morning of the pandemic and taught for an hour to hundreds of people that he cannot see. All he knows about these people is the relationships he developed over a text-based chat over time. Maybe a profile picture on their YouTube channel. But that's really about it. And yet he taught and he delivered and he engaged. He'd ask questions and the chat would just go wild with answering questions. Or they would ask questions in the chat. They'd be engaging with each other. It was like being part of one of the most engaged, ongoing classrooms ever. And so that really taught me just how to engage and teach an online audience, and really drove home the fact that you don't necessarily have to see your students to really be able to teach them. There are master teachers like Pat Flynn, who almost never see their students face to face. If you're finding this helpful and you want more of these what I learned from type videos, hit the thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below who you'd like me to talk about. I have people like Brene Brown, Priya Parker, Cal Newport, Michael Hyatt, Amy Porterfield, all these big names that come to mind in terms of who I am learning from. And I would love to share some of my key takeaways from these really huge mentors of mine that I've never really met. So let me know down in the comments below if you want to see more of that. And let's dive into the last thing Pat has taught me. The third thing here that I want to talk about from what I've learned from Pat is what I think is actually the most profound and life-changing lesson that I've learned, and that has really shifted my mindset. I am very much an empath, and I am very much a man who has big feelings. I feel things strongly. And what that means is when I get negative criticism, it hurts. It hits hard. I could have 100 positive comments and one negative one, and it's like the 100 positive ones didn't exist. In watching Pat and learning from him, he said something that completely changed how I view these negative comments and just negative interactions on a day-to-day basis altogether. And he said that hurt people hurt people. And I think it's so true. I know that for me, when I have hurt those around me, it's usually when I am hurting, and there's usually work that needs to happen in here and not necessarily on that other person. It allows us to have a little bit of empathy towards that other party who is being hurt. And let me just tell you, if you've never seen Pat respond to a really critical or negative or hateful comment during a live stream, it is a powerful reaction in terms of he stops and he says, "Hey, I just want to know, why did you say that? What's going on? It seems like you might be hurting, or I know that something might be going on, and I'd love to support you and care for you, and feel free to reach out to me or anyone else in the SPI audience, and we'll absolutely let you know." The reaction to that statement from these people is wild. They stop and they apologize and they say things like, "I'm so sorry, I just had my business fail and I'm feeling frustrated. I shouldn't have taken it out on you." It's the way that shifts the conversation just blows my mind. And so remember, hurt people hurt people. And that, I think, is one of the most important lessons I've ever learned from Pat. So I mentioned it earlier, but I want to give you a little preview of upcoming videos like this. So my goal is to release one of these every Tuesday. A few people on my list include Priya Parker and the Art of Gathering, Brene Brown, and Dare to Lead. Specifically, I'm naming a few of their books that I have read, but also their podcasts and their resources that have just been amazing. John Maxwell is a huge one for me. Cal Newport was a game changer for me in how I approach work. And so these are all names that are coming up, and I'd love to have you part of it. If you think there's someone that I should be learning from, let me know in the comments down below. I'm always looking for new books to read, podcasts to listen to, and things like that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of these, and I've got a couple videos on the screen that I think you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time.